District of Prescott's Board of Education regular board meeting, I'll call it to order subject to section 1983 Wisconsin statutes. We're going to go into the Pledge of Allegiance here. Helen, would you here lead us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go into the public comment section, recognition of visitors. Rules for public comment. Please approach the podium one at a time, stating your name, municipality, and topic you'd like to address. Allotted time is 3 minutes per individual, 6 if you're representing a group that's present. Comments should be directed to the board and not to other staff or participants. The board will not act on any comments that are made during the meeting. The presiding officer may direct the district administrator to follow up with that individual at a later date. And the public comment section will be limited to 30 minutes unless board action is taken. And as always, please refer to our public comment policy listed on the agenda for the full description. Anybody care to be recognized at this time?
I care to be recognized.
Yep, come on up, Roger. State your name and municipality, please. Thanks.
My name is Roger Halney, and this is the first school board meeting I've attended since I retired 11 years ago, so on a different side of things. I want to compliment the board for taking their time and making their decision and allowing the public to speak. I think that's very good. The thing I wanted to speak on, I thought I'd mention it because if I didn't, I'd feel bad about it. My issue is grade configuration. You know, experience I have, at least, although I'm old, is elementary kids. It's a good place to have kids in elementary schools. Elementary teachers teach kids, not just subjects. The longer you can keep kids in elementary school, the better off you are. And so I would think that Malone, if you looked really close at it, could serve K through 4. And I think the middle school could comfortably serve one more grade, be 5 through 8. And keep this a high school for grades 9 through 12. I think you should at least take a look at that. It's more than numbers. Yeah, your numbers can fit. But instructionally, use of space and kids together and education, I think instructionally, a better makeup is K4, 5-8, and 9-12. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
Anybody else care to be recognized? All right, we're going to move on. Thank you. Next up is good news. We go to Kaden here. Kaden?
First. Good evening. My name is Kaden Hillebrand, and I'm the school board representative for the student body. Within the high school, Spring Fling Week will take place during the last week of the month. This celebration includes dress-up days, games during the week, and a school-wide assembly titled Battle of the Subjects on Friday, probably the following Saturday. Students who participated in the Lac du Flambeau Indian Reservation trip this past summer had the opportunity to present at a conference in Madison and a conference in the Wisconsin Dells. These students organized educational presentations centered around what they learned on their trip. Additionally, many members of our speech team made it to state, which will take place in Madison this Friday and Saturday. Furthermore, the Community Service Club coordinated a visit to the Prescott Nursing Home on April 7th. They donated a portion of their tie blankets and helped set up and play bingo with the residents. Within the middle school, students participated in a school activity last Friday that was coordinated by the SALT team in recognition of their hard work done during quarter 3 and during the Wisconsin board exams. Within Malone, the school carnival will take place on Friday, April 17th. This annual event is put on by the Malone Parent Committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Kaden. Got Rick coming up. Jim?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good evening, board. Kaden mentioned quite a few things here, so there may be some repeat. I apologize, but we're going to start with Malone, as Kaden did just mention. You don't want to miss the Malone Parent Committee Carnival this Friday night from 5 to 7:30 at the Prescott Middle School. Come have a load of fun and bid on some great baskets donated by our 4K through 5 classrooms and staff. Please also join us on Thursday, April 23rd for our Malone Elementary School Spring Music music concerts. First grade will perform at 5 o'clock, second grade at 6, third grade at 7. Artwork will be displayed in the high school commons, and you will be able to purchase books at the Scholastic Book Fair. Speaking of concerts, the intermediate school invites everyone to please join them tomorrow evening, Thursday, April 16th, for their spring music concert. The performance begins at 6 p.m. in the Performing Arts Center. Mr. Kozmowski states that we look forward to welcoming families and guests for an evening dedicated to our students' artistic achievements. From choral arrangements to dance and instrumental showcases, it promises to be a memorable celebration of the arts. Prescott Middle School and Mr. Igo would like to share that they will be finishing up Wisconsin forward testing tomorrow. Yay. Congratulations to our students. They worked extremely hard during the assessment window this year. And in other good news, the middle school student leadership team did a student-led activity afternoon on April 10th. Word from Mr. Igo is that, and I quote, "It was a great success." A couple additional things to share from the high school begin with a huge thank you to the Prescott Lions Club for generously donating $500 to support our community service club and their tie blanket initiative that Caden mentioned earlier. And let's also celebrate an amazing run for Amelia Berg and her role on Women's Team Wisconsin while competing in the National High School Alpine Western Championship. Her team took second place overall, again nationally, and she individually placed 9th in slalom and 30th in giant slalom out of 110 women competitors. Incredible job, Amelia. Student Services would like to share that the preliminary joint federal notification packet, which rates our performance on federal indicators for students with disabilities participating in things like state testing, was perfect. More to come in June from Sandy. And last but not least, in activities and athletics, state speech is this Friday in Madison. PHS had 18 talented students qualify to compete. Best of luck to all. And if you haven't yet, check out the new dugouts and shed at the Borner Fields. A huge thanks to the Prescott Fast Pitch Association for doing these projects for the district. Very well done and appreciated. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim.
So from the superintendent's office, my first thing is the Cardinal Champion. Again, this is selected each month. Gary Hartung is our Cardinal Champion. Gary is considered to be tender-hearted and caring in every sense as he drives the bus every day. Over the years, Gary has been someone many families and students count on daily, and he is missed greatly when he is not present, which is incredibly rare. He is extremely dependable with seldom a day off for anything. Gary is the most compassionate person. He is a constant caregiver. He loves the children and thinks of them as his own. There isn't a route change or a task that he hasn't been willing to take on. The route he drives is an everyday evolving door. Each day has its own schedule, and on top of that, not even Monday, Tuesday, etc. is the same as last week. Each kid has a different calendar that he keeps track of each week. One of Gary's elementary age students, when asked what he liked about Gary, he said, quote, "Gary helped me carry my lunchbox and backpack at the bottom of the steps. I like that he gives me a ride to school." Another student said, "Gary has silly names for me, and he is always nice to me." Congratulations, Gary. It's the Garys of Prescott that make us a special school district. I'd also like to mention Digital Safety and Awareness Night. This is for all of our Prescott parents next Wednesday from 6 to 8 at the Prescott Performing Arts Center. Officer Jacobson, along with investigators from Pierce County and our school counselors, are putting on this Digital Awareness Night. Topics that will be covered include sextortion, Wisconsin AI laws and considerations, social media scams, cell phone use, developmental considerations. It'll also have a lot of resources for the parents that will help support their kids' healthy technology habits. Our social media report card, as the board knows, we've been working with Social School for EDU for the last several months. Between December and February, we grew to a total of 3,691 followers on Facebook. That's a growth of 134 people, with an average monthly viewers of 44,696 individual people. A lot of that comes from sharing. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening in the audience, the more you share, the better it is for our part of the algorithm and getting all the great news that we do at Prescott sent out into the world. Rick already mentioned this, but here are the 18 students that are going to state on Friday and Saturday. The competition is Friday night. Huge shout out to Coach and all 18 of our students for all their hard work and all their success heading on to state. 18 students for a school our size is simply amazing. And lastly, thank you, Helen. Thank you for your years of service on the school board, your dedication, thoughtful decision making, and a teacher perspective that have truly made a difference for our students and staff. I've only known you for about 10 months, but we're so grateful for the time and energy you've given, and hopefully you've earned that little extra free time now.
Oh, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have any words that you'd like to say, Helen?
Sure, take my picture down for the love of God. Okay. Just thank you. I mean, this has been an experience, that's for sure. You don't know until you know, and I know. And it's a good thing. The work that this whole team does is amazing. Being a teacher in the district and then coming onto the board, my eyes were opened to all the great things behind the scenes, and so that was amazing. The way that I was able to see this team and be part of this team through challenges and through successes was amazing. And I can't say enough about our teachers, and I'm not going to say anymore because I'll cry, but I am ready for a break. But my heart is always in Prescott, and so I'm here. I'm just taking a break, and the new guy is going to be good, so I'm excited. But thank you, everyone. You guys took me under your wing, and I appreciate that, so thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Thanks, Helen.
And I have one more quick last thing. When we go through board action today, we'll have a fully staffed custodial staff. That's been a discussion the last couple months. We have a second grade opening. We currently have 20 applicants as of this morning. That number's probably changed already throughout the day. Mrs. Dusek has interviews scheduled for May 5th. We've also posted for a business office coordinator. And that would be 70% bookkeeper, 20% HR, 10% office, just general office work, and of course that's estimated. We're posting that around $45,000 to $50,000, which will be about a $30,000 savings to the budget. That's going to close on April 24th. And since it is hiring season in Wisconsin for educators, we had an elementary special education position open up about 9 o'clock this morning, so that'll come to the board technically in May. But we're on it, it's already posted, and we're already searching for the best candidate for our students.
All right. Thanks, Jim. That's good news. We're going to move on to business. Item number 1 here is consent agenda. In the consent, we have the March 11th, 2026 regular board meeting minutes and the April 8th, 2026 work session minutes, finance reports, personnel report for non-licensed staff, and accepting the receipt of signed and notarized official oath for school board candidate Brad Stewie. Anything in the consent that anybody would like to pull out? All right. So with that, we can take a motion to adopt the consent agenda and approve the consent agenda and adopt the regular board agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda and approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. Sorry, Becky.
All right, that's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We're going to move into personnel reports.
So the board has one retirement, Di Morth, and a resignation of Riley Green as certified staff. Both of these were kind of expected. We've already planned for them and we're working on them. We're absorbing Di's position, and as we said, we're looking at filling an elementary special education position.
Anybody have any comments or questions here?
Is this Riley's is in addition to the one from 9 o'clock today?
Yes and no. I technically can't really talk about one, but yeah, we did have a long-term sub in for Riley. We knew Riley was probably not going to come back, so that is part of the conversation. But yeah, technically we're supposed to post things 24 hours away. Ashley's waving me off. Flip-flop, sorry. So.
Okay.
But we know for sure Riley's not coming back.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we can take a motion here.
I move to approve the personnel report for the certified staff listed above.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries. Item C is nomination for board delegate for CC11 annual convention. So in the past, it's been Vicky. Vicky, do you have anything to say for yourself here? You can do it.
Well, I'm
before you get nominated.
I am up for re-election, so no, I can easily go since my seat is up.
Anybody else want it?
Do you like going? I mean, is it okay to keep going? Okay. Then I
When have we ever asked that question?
Then I nominate Vicky.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Tanya for Vicky and a second by Pat. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That one carries. Thank you, Vicky.
Thanks, Vicky.
Certainly.
Thanks.
Item D is the accepting of an anonymous donation.
So one of the nice things about my job is I get to work in Prescott, and Prescott really supports education. We had a husband and wife come into our office, and they asked to meet with me and Courtney as my note taker, and they wanted to talk about how they could inspire teachers to be innovative and how they could provide kids the opportunity to really have experiences. And they talked a lot about how when they were students, how much they loved field trips and experiences. And they've asked to remain anonymous, so I'm not going to give details, but they talked about how some of the stuff they did as an elementary student, middle school student, high school student, really determined what they wanted to do with their lives and how they spent their entire working career. And then they decided to donate $10,000. And they wanted to call it the Archie Awards. The Archie Award is named after something near and dear to them. So they are giving 4 $1,000 awards, one per building for the teachers to think outside the box and be innovative. And we promised as a district, well, we won't match dollar for dollar. We told the teachers, and the teachers are currently applying. To the teachers in the room, if you haven't applied yet, apply. But the district will gladly, if you come up with something that's $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, we'll find the extra $300 or $400 because we want to honor this donation. And then we created a separate Fund 21 account with the Archie Award for $6,000 that's going towards student experiences. So this is for the students who can't afford to go on field trips or participate in activities that inspire them to dream and be special. As it's over the required amount, this requires board action to accept and approve.
Awesome. Any questions or comments down here on this side, or Helen, or?
No questions, but again, just a comment. This is why I joined the board. This is why I worked here before. This is why we love Prescott, because of people like this. Thank you.
Vicky?
I just have to say thank you to the community members who did this. We will, our teachers will definitely put it to good use, and yeah, I think it is invaluable. That was all part of my school experience as a kid. You remember those field trips, the ability to go to an overnight for band or something that you couldn't have afforded otherwise. So very cool.
Awesome. Tanya?
Just echoing my colleagues over here, I wanted to add to that the $6,000 is especially dear to me just because there's so many families that
would like their kids to do activities and stuff, but it puts quite a hardship on the family to be able to provide those opportunities. So it's great that some of our kids that maybe couldn't have participated in things like theater or, whatever it might be, has those opportunities now, and that is life-changing for some of our kids.
Yeah, Pat?
No, really, really cool. And I also just wanted to, when I was walking in, I saw the Afton Apple crew here. We had a donation by the Lions Club. PFA was already announced. We got the Archie Awards, and I know we're going to talk about Harley and Premium Plots here in a minute, but it's really, really cool and special and neat to see everybody and how generous and what an awesome community that this is.
Awesome. Jim, just really quick on the schematics of everything. So the money's going to go into Fund 21, or in a separate account in Fund 21. Is the goal then to try to spend that money for the next school year, or is it? How does that work? Like, what do we have to do there?
So it's going to sit in its own Fund 21, and it'll earn interest. I don't think we're going to try to artificially spend it out of Fund 21. The principals and the guidance counselors know the kids the best, know the support. The teachers will know about it. The principals will get the word to the teacher. If they have a kid who is in need of something, whether it's, even if it's something as a kid simple as I want to go out for track, but I can't afford track shoes, type of situations, or, I want to go on a field trip. So the $6,000, they were looking that one to last. The $1,000 is going to get announced at the end of the school year. We have a luncheon with the entire staff. So the staff have until May 15th to submit their applications for the $1,000 awards, and then the admin team will sit down and decide who the winners are. The anonymous donors were offered to be part of the process, but they asked to have the principals do it, so we're going to honor that.
Okay, so that $6K that goes into that special account that can roll over from year to year. There's no. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Agreed with all my colleagues on all the generous donations. I mean, it's one of the fun things about being on the board and accepting this, because there's a lot of people in this town and outside of the town that support public schools, and in particular Prescott. So thank you very much for the generous donation. We can entertain the motion.
I move to approve accepting a $10,000 anonymous donation towards teacher awards and supporting student experiences.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries. Item E is accept another donation for lumber.
So Harley Hotchkiss has been a longtime supporter of R5 and our whole tech ed program. He is part of Premium Plots LLC. Throughout the course of the year, July through October, and then with an additional one that I guess is just coming in, he's donated $6,740 worth of lumber. As you know, we are in the process, and Mike Hoyk will talk about in a minute, of looking at building the R5 shed out back, and his donations go a long ways towards building that program and funding and supporting our in-house businesses. So we'd like to recommend that you accept Harley Hotchkiss and Premium Plots donations.
Any comments down here, Pat?
No, other than thanks, Harley, and
Yeah, I remember it was probably about a year ago that we accepted another donation from him. So it's wonderful. It's exciting. We have a really great R5 program. So thank you.
Just thank you.
Yeah.
Helen? Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take a motion.
I move to accept a lumber donation for the Prescott High School Tech Education Program of $6,740
I'll second.
of lumber.
I'll second.
I got a second. All right. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries, and now we're on to item F. consider second reading for the Neola Act 57 special update policies.
So these are titled Neola Act 57 because Act 57 is a state law that passed in December, and the school district has been following the state law since December. These are the state laws that you may have heard a lot about as far as grooming, reporting inappropriate staff behavior, etc. Basically, what this does is this aligns our policy within Act 57. It gives a little bit more direction in our policy, direction to staff on what is acceptable behavior and not acceptable behavior. As we speak, the DPI and WASB, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, are working together on coming up with a set of mandatory trainings that will be used statewide in August. So we'll be conducting those trainings when we return in August to make sure we're in compliance with the state law.
All right. Tanya, any questions down here?
I didn't. We talked about these last month. They were, I thought most of them were pretty obvious changes that needed to happen just to make sure that we protect our students. So, good.
Yep, Pat.
Yep, no questions.
Vicki?
No questions.
No questions.
All right. We can entertain a motion.
I move to accept the second reading of the noted policies within the Neola Act 57 special update.
I'll second.
That's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That one carries. Item G, approve academic and career planning report.
Mr. Kozmowski will be up to speak about this, and I'm going to get the casting there. Mr. Kozmowski, the clicker's right there, so beautiful. Hopefully it'll work for us.
Make sure we're live and working here. Oh yeah, going fast. All right, well, good evening, board. Last month I came to you and talked about our academic and career planning, something that's been a state statute since 2017. We're working on updating our plan and then looking for formal approval of our plan, which will become a yearly agenda item. Most likely moving towards when we do our academic planning yearly in July and August is probably when we'll be coming back to you in the future on our plan. But just a couple things about our plan itself is this slideshow along with another document, which is our laid out plan. The slideshow has a lot of our data on the things that you were asking me for last month of how does this really play out for kids. But our intended outcomes is for our academic and career plan is that we are preparing our students for post-secondary success, whatever that looks like. Military, workforce, 2-year technical college, or a 4-year college. And really, it follows those 4 parts of academic planning: getting to know yourself, exploring options, exploring labor markets. What are those things? How does that play in? Creating a plan, not only just your 4-year plan when you're in high school, but your 4-year plus plan, and then go and delivering on that plan and following the plan, and then making adjustments along the way in both the coursework that you're taking and then also in future goals. So that's really what academic and career planning is. The mandate only is that we talk about grades 6 through 12. However, we do a lot of these get to know yourself activities and start to introduce careers to students. So that way, every time you ask a kindergartner, what do you want to become? It's not always a firefighter or a teacher, right? There are other options out there for them. So we start this at an early age. We had all of our departments go through and reflect on in our grade levels, look at what current activities do we do, which ones do we guarantee that all of our students are getting, and then which are those that maybe only some of our kids get, and where are areas that we could look at building up. And that's part of our plan too, is sort of what are our goals, what's the next things that we're going to be going after. So really getting to know yourself is that K-5 journey. We continue to get to know yourself in the middle school, but now it's more of that focus of now starting to explore. So we have a careers class in 6th grade, a skills class, and then careers classes, dedicated careers classes in 7th and 8th grade. And part of that is starting to look at the high school course offerings, but also looking at different professions and aptitude and things like that. So really getting to know yourself and now just starting to explore. And then at our high school level is where we put those all 4 components together. So now they started some exploring. We continue that exploring. We create our 4+ plan, and then we start delivering on those plans. And we have coaching one-on-one with our counselors, both in 9th grade and in 11th grade, with all of our students to make sure that those plans are being delivered on. On top of that, we do activities either through special days or even during our Cardinal time with our counselors as well. One of the things of going through that process of having K-12 look at what are we currently doing was just the discussions that came out of it. I had a discussion with one of our 5th grade teachers of, we do this, but it's by happenstance. And if it was more intentional, we could definitely take this to the next level. So it really did help our PLCs, our PLC members to look at what are we currently doing and where are some areas that we could improve upon. Not that we're doing anything wrong necessarily, but there always are areas that we could involve the students more, involve parents more, and bring it to our classrooms a little bit more. So that's kind of the plan itself. And then some of the things that the board was asking for is really, I'm kind of shifting gears within the presentation of what have these activities done for Prescott students? So one of them is, the first thing here is just youth apprenticeships. And youth apprenticeships are students going out into the community and doing some learning. Part of the requirements of a youth apprenticeship is 450 hours. They need to be paid hours. There has to be a career and technical education connection for the kids. They work on employability skills. They need to be evaluated by the employer. They get some money for work, uniforms or shoes or things like that. And this is funded by the Department of Workforce Development. So as you can see here is over the last 4 years, we've had a great increase from 3 to 30 students in youth apprenticeships. Along the side here is a list of our local apprenticeships that we have kids doing. Anywhere from PTACs to the Prescott Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, Heart, Hands, and Minds, New Adventures. So there's a whole list there of these are where those 30 kids are doing those hours and doing that work. And that's just a great testament of our counselors working with our kids to get them more of that hands-on learning and occupational areas. So that way they can explore some of those things and get some of those soft skills prior to leaving high school. Post-secondary enrollment. So what portion of our students are going is undecided at leaving high school? And these are percentages on this table. You can see this last year, if we look at 2025, four-year college, 57% of our students are going to four-year college. You can see it was slightly lower, 48% in 2024. If you look at the technical school, we had 18% last year that graduated said we're going to a technical college, 25% the year prior. Work or military, 20% last year, 15%, and then undecided, 5 and 11. So percentages, we look at those. And then one of the questions the board said is, well, do they actually do that? So that was part of their plan. Do they actually do it? My next slide is we have something used to be called seed tiers, but we call it the 1 year out data. One thing that we've done is over the years, we've started collecting students' contact information a little bit differently so we get a better response rate. So what you're looking at here on these charts is the percent of students that after 1 year out of Prescott, and we just did this for our last year's graduating classes, are you still at a 2-year college? Are you still at your 4-year college? Have things changed? One thing I can say is, like anything with data, it's only as clean as the data that you get. Back in the 2022, 2023 numbers, we are only getting about a 20% response rate from our students 1 year later to connect back to our school district. Mr. Kerr spearheads this. He changed the way that he collects their information. So in 2024 is about a 70% response rate. This year already we're at an 80% response rate. So we're getting better data to know where kids are and are they staying in those programs? Are they moving on to something else? Are they making changes? All right. Next piece of information that I have up here for you. We're really going to start jumping into now our dual enrollment and those classes and what we do here up at the high school. So the first one is transcripted credit. These are CVTC because they are our local college that we
in Pierce County. These are certified CVTC teachers. Majority of these classes are taught at Prescott by Prescott teachers, but not all. Some are at CVTC by their instructors. And what the graph that you're looking at here these are the students that are earning transcripted credit. So these are just the count of students, and you'll see it went way up, and now it's starting to come back down. And part of that is through retirements and the fact that we have people that were certified to teach, like Ms. Pedretti left, she was certified to teach physics, and she was certified to teach chemistry, and now we lost that certification. So that's part of it, is that we don't have quite as many opportunities because we're losing some of our local talent. We are working with some teachers. We do have one teacher right now that's going back. They did shift the rules a little while ago about you have to have a master's degree, or I believe it's 18 credits in that specific area of master's level work. So we are working with some of our teachers, and CVTC has a partial meeting grant also to get our teachers certified. So we are working to bring more of those classes back as well. So those are our numbers over the last 8 years, and really in the data we looked at the last 8 years and what impact has that had. So our students that get a C or higher in these classes, they earn college credit. That college credit has come out to about $1.1 million in savings for Prescott students and families. And that is transcripted credit alone. I'll give you a total at the very end here. But over the last 8 years of data that we've been looking at, that's where we're at. Sticking with CVTC, this is the Start College Now program. So this is dedicated or meant for students who want to start technical college, Wisconsin Technical College. It opens the doors for those students to consider technical careers, start early, potentially have some of that post-secondary coursework taken care of before they leave. And you can see here the graph that you're looking at. This is the total course credits. I know the board, you have a much fuller document that has some of the numbers of how many kids were these and whatnot. But here are the number of credits that we've done through that Start College Now. The savings from Start College Now is from 2017 to 2025, so about 8 years of data is about $18,000 from just that program as well. So the Start College Now program, which you guys have to approve every year when we have those enrollments come in. The other, through CVTC, we have these things called academies. So this is a series of courses that lead to degree programs. I believe our first academy was a business academy. They're typically multiple years, and some kids might join their senior year and only get a few of the credits into that academy. Some kids, and one of our celebrations I'll share is Miss Herr a few years ago, already had the certification before she even left high school. So she had completed that academy. So these are kiddos that typically these are offered at CVTC at their campus. Sometimes they're at our high school location. Some of these are multiple year dedicated. We have like the welding academy that is held in River Falls. We have students participating in that. That itself is 18 to 20 credits in one semester, and they leave with 2 certifications. Some of these are in a nursing academy, and maybe they're doing a CNA class, and that's the only class they get here, but then they continue that academy later on. Well, from the credits that they earned here so far in the last 8 years, we're looking at about $52,000 that, again, students and families have had in deferred costs because they're able to get those credits here. Early college credit, so this really is for 4-year college classes, so institutes of higher education. Typically for our students, almost all this is UW River Falls. We do have a dual enrollment agreement with UW Green Bay for some of our kids that take First Nations. Not all the kids do that, and they get that at a reduced rate, but families still pay for those credits. These credits families are not paying for unless your student doesn't pass the class. We've had a really good rate, but we have had some kids that have not passed classes, but I would say percentage-wise 95% or more, but that does happen from time to time. The Prescott School District does pick up the cost of these, but we get it at a reduced rate as well, and because it's a dual credit, we're only paying like 25% of the cost, where the state is paying 75% of that reduced rate for our kiddos. If we didn't do the dual credit, we would have to pay a higher percentage of that. But as you can see here, what you're looking at is the number of credits credits earned through that program, and that has saved our families $315,000 of tuition costs that otherwise students would be going to college and then taking those classes. And now if you think about all these classes that we've been talking about and credits that kids are earning, that also is putting them ahead in line for registering for classes. So maybe you go into your freshman year and Caden doesn't have to have the 8 a.m. English 101 class like all the other freshmen have to have, because she already has more credits, right? So she can register earlier. Also, you think of how many years it takes to get through 4-year degrees, which I myself did not go 4 years to college. It takes a little longer sometimes, especially for us slow learners. But this gets them head start on that as well. So overall, is the other last thing that we really have that really helps our kids with deferred costs are our AP classes. And up here, you're looking at a graph that has the number of students that scored that 3+, and then the number of credits. So if they scored a 5, typically you're going to get 5 credits at a university. If you scored 3, you're going to get 3 credits. Depending on your major, it may or may not count towards your major. But when we look at that, and we look typically these are for 4-year colleges. If we look at the UWRF rate, those credits earned over the last several years has added up to over $1 million of credits just from AP. And we have a number of AP classes, and we thank those teachers that take on that extra stresses and things that come with teaching an AP class, along with the trainings that they do and give up their summer time to do. So we appreciate them for that, and then the students for participating in those as well. And they fluctuate a little bit from year to year of what course offerings do we have, but typically we have kind of a standard of like 7 or 8 classes that are offered every year. So if you look at what are we, CVTC, we're at like $1.1 million saved. AP is just over $1 million, UWRF 315. So over the last 8 years, you combine that all together in deferred costs, this would have cost Prescott families and students $2.48 million that we've been able to save through our ACP planning, through the courses that we offer, through our teachers being certified either through CVTC or to be an AP teacher, and then our students taking advantage of those opportunities, and more students going into that Start College Now or early college credit program, as well as more and more into those academies. So we've had a great story. I'm glad I was able to come up here and tell that story. Before I get to the very end of my presentation, which really is the plan and the approval for the board, just want to stop right there because there's a lot of numbers, a lot of dollar signs. What questions do you have for me?
Yeah. We'll start down here. Pat, do you have any questions?
Very cool, very impressive. We saw a little spike, and maybe some of the numbers were coming back down just a little bit. What's the data telling us?
Data is telling us we still have kids, we're still offering those courses. We just cannot offer them as transcripted courses in particular because we just don't have staff that are certified. So some of them we are looking at, can we get recertification or get a supported teacher in that? The other thing is some of those we are actually looking at potentially shifting to an AP course. So, example, chemistry and physics. Ms. Hootie that we hired to replace Ms. Pedretti is looking at, do we actually not do transcripted chemistry as an AP chemistry, something that our current student body is more interested in. So that's one of them that we're looking at, and then depending on how AP chemistry goes, then we'll look at the AP physics. Right now, to ask a teacher to go back and get 18 credits in chemistry and 18 credits in physics with a young family, she's on maternity leave right now, like that's just really tough to do, right? So we're looking at how do we fill those. We still are offering the classes, they're just not that dual enrollment right now.
All right, thank you.
Tanya?
Great information. It's super great to see all the different things that we do to offer different opportunities. I know we're talking about career planning and stuff, so it goes directly into that, but also saves our families money. I really like slide 13, which is our 1-year out data. We do ask about that a lot, and what I noticed about that was even though the response rate was really different, it was really consistently, the data was still really consistent. About 13 to 14% of our students end up not attending some post-secondary institution, and that's been since 2022. So it's good to kind of have a little validation that, kind of what we're doing, this is pretty consistent with what's happening with our kids out once they leave here. here. So I appreciate all this. It looks great. I do know the changeover in staff and stuff like that is one of the things that we're going to always have that ebb and flow, and that's okay. So thank you.
Vicki?
I don't have any questions. Seeing the total numbers since 2018, that's a big number. That's a big number. And yeah, I echo the 1 year data. I think that's amazing that here we are, it's April, and we've already got 80% response, which is amazing to see that, yeah, those kids, those numbers are consistent, but that Mr. Kirk has been able to get.
Right. Capture more students.
Get that data and keep track of those kids, so that's amazing.
No questions, really, just a statement. This speaks volumes to our entire staff, because even the UW, I just speak from personal experience because my kid did it. Even the UW, she went to college, but her teachers here supported her. The staff here supported her as well. So her being able to do that and like still have that safety net underneath while because yep, they want to go to college, but they're still 18, right? So, or 17 or whatever. So it's just a great program that our staff does amazing, supports amazingly. So yeah, and we can save money. It's just a great thing. So,
Yeah, I feel grateful to have had the opportunity to advance my education through these dual enrollment programs. So,
Yeah. Good job, Michael. What else you got
All right,
for us
so
here?
now the plan itself is linked here. The plan is a multi-page Google document. There's a template that we're given by the state. They have different things like who's on your team, how do you, and I'm just going to pull out a couple of them. So a couple things I wanted to talk about. I don't know if it's delayed or if it just went to sleep on me.
There we go. Let me see.
Yeah. Okay. So community partnerships. So this is a big one, right? How can we support all? It takes the whole community, right? So here are our community partnerships that we have this year. You know, from Wisconsin, First National, Casco. I'm not going to read all of them on there. Our partnerships with the universities and technical colleges, the Prescott Public Library, DCTC, right? We've got a lot of great partnerships. So for me to be able to stand up here and say it's great staff, it's great students, it's a great community, right? It's the community that puts this on. So again, we're going to continue to work on building out those partnerships and even more partnerships and get more regional partnerships. But we have a really great base and a great start and a lot of support from our community. So we thank them for that. Some of the other part is just what does ACP really do for our kids? I just have a few highlights here of students that have been recognized. Either, Mr. Roll there at CISA 11 was recognized within our, all of Western Wisconsin, AJ, for the youth apprenticeship and the things that he's doing there. We have the Prescott technology education, and what are we doing with R5 manufacturing, those things. And then I was talking about Sydney, her here. This was Chippewa Valley Technical College. This was in their own output. What they put out is their newsletter about how we have this high school kid from Prescott that is before they graduate, they already have a business management program under their belt. Like, just great things that are happening. And for our kiddos that don't go through a whole program, there's a lot of great benefits to that too, right? These are just a few of them that I wanted to highlight. And then the last part that I want to talk about in the plan is really that family engagement. And as we met as a group, as we looked at our plan's fine. We are covering the things we're supposed to cover, but there's always room for improvement. And this is one of those areas of our family engagement. How engaged really are our parents, right? So we have back to school activities, freshman orientation, financial aid nights. Are we really capturing our family? How do we get this story out to our families, right? And how do we get them involved in it as well? We've had a number of parents that were at Mad City Money this year. That was great to see that we have community members that are volunteering and doing those things. We have the academic breakfast our community can be part of, scholarship night. So there are other opportunities for our staff, and part of the plan says, if you are interested, reach out to us. We'd love to partner with you. We'd love to have you here in one capacity or another, because there is a lot of expertise in our community. Everyone's got a career, and being able to share that career path with our students is very important. One of the things we talked about is looking at different careers and former graduates. And I was just talking this morning with Ms. Mayone and Ms. Vanessa Mayone, one of our high school counselors. She did the lion's share of the lift on this. She was fabulous on this. But we were talking about areas where we could potentially improve, and we talked about who are recent Prescott graduates, and River Hughes and Rihanna Hadler came to mind for me, and those are both Prescott graduates, former students of mine that are artists. And how many artists do we have come in and talk about a career as an artist? And here we have two within our own community that, and I'm sure there's more than that, but those two I could come up with off the top of my head because I'm Facebook friends with them and it pops up every once in a while, right? So, what are those? And can we be well, part of that 1 year out survey? Can that be part of it, where we have those kids coming back and our kids learning from them? Last part is, again, the ACP plan that you guys are actually approving is this whole slide deck, which a lot of the other stuff refers to this slide deck just because we didn't want to make it that way. Just so you know, CISA 11, Mike Zamatis up at CISA 11 does the academic and career planning for us. He reviewed our plan, and we asked him to review it in terms of compliance. Are we compliant? Because a lot of schools did their plan back in 2017 like we did, and then COVID hit and it kind of sat. So we shared our plan with him, and this is the feedback that he gave. He said, if I had to rate this plan, I would rate this plan as exemplar with the Wisconsin DPI plan. He goes on further to say he is interested in having DPI is interested in using our plan to post on their website and use an exemplar for other districts if the board gives them permission.
No.
So, I don't know. So with that, do you want to adjust or change anything within the plan?
I feel like I should read it over even more carefully.
I don't think so. I think this is
really this goes back to our staff. Yes, Vanessa Mayone did a big heavy lift, but really all of our staff, all of our PLCs were part of this. We started this 2 months ago of this review, and then updating our numbers and pulling that data from multiple different sources and whatnot. But really, all of our staff are reflected within this plan. We're all part of it. It's not just the counselors. It's not just the CTE teachers. It's everyone. And that's part of our goals going forward. And you see that part of our plan is to make sure that we all understand, just like we talk about all students are all of our students, ACP is all of us. All of us get kids ready for what their next step is out of Prescott High School. It's not just the high school. It's not just a particular department. It's everyone all the way down to kindergarten and 4K, really getting our kids ready. So kudos to the Prescott staff for what we have. And again, there's always room for improvement, and you see that as part of the plan of better communication, more partnerships, and then more professional development really for our staff so that they see themselves in it, because this review activity really did help them with that. And now how do we take it to the next step besides for it's just a concept or a plan?
Helen, do you have any comments on this?
No, I don't think you can have comments on
I know. I don't think it's fun.
Like, you can't top that.
Anything, Vicki? Down here, Tanya?
What a compliment from CISA 11 there. So that's great. This looks great. I read through the plan, and it looks like basically it's all these kind of slides put into paragraph form, if you will.
A lot of it is that, and then narrative of how are we supporting students in our counseling office and counseling programs.
The meetings.
Also professional development for our staff and things like that. So it is very detailed and laid out. And again, there is a goal section and next steps for us. And that was something that this group, we spent a lot of time talking about that, because we know that we have all these great things. We raked them together, but we can always get better.
Yeah. I do think coming from a high school and working here in a high school, this high school does a really good job, the middle school, the high school, of having a lot of different opportunities that align with post-secondary career opportunities. So, our R5 we've talked a lot about tonight. That's just really one good example that are really career paths for students. And also, it's really nice having UWRF right next to us, CBTC. So we've got some really great opportunities. This looks great. Thanks to Vanessa. Sounds like she put a lot of work into this, and that's great. Thank you.
No, well done. No questions.
Yeah. None of this works without the staff and the quality of the staff that we have that have the degrees and the passion to do what they do, especially for the post-secondary classes that you need to have certain qualifications for. And it starts with them. And Michael, you do a great job organizing and getting it presentable for us. So we appreciate every one of you. Thank you. So this is the first time we're approving this one. I assume this is going to be an annual improvement.
Kind of an annual.
And
Yep.
Next year we'll just get the updates.
Get an update. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be a lot faster. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So we'll take a
I
motion.
move to approve the academic and career planning report.
I'll second.
Motion and a second there. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Thanks, Michael.
Yep. And the only other part I didn't hear a resounding no.
Go ahead and share
DPI
it.
to use ours as an exemplar. So
I don't know.
Go for it.
My encouragement would be a yes, because the more people hear about the great things we're doing in Prescott, the more they want to come here.
Yep, that was my thought exactly.
You guys win. All right, we'll move on. Item H is the approval of staff compensation for 26-27 school year.
More numbers. All right. So we've been talking about compensation for the last, I feel like, couple board meetings. And tonight we're here to give kind of the general overview of what we talked about during the work session and do a recommendation for you guys. So, you controlled it last time. Okay, so as I go through this, one of the things I have continued to do is give you the overview of the pieces that are built into the Baird model, so you kind of know where we're starting from, right? So the compensation and benefits really represent the largest portion of the budget, and so that's, one of our main focuses on making sure that that's going to align. Medical increases are projected at 4.6% for this next school year, and going forward, obviously, we map out for years to come, and so I have a 12% medical and a 2% dental. We also, I put in the model a 2.5% annual increase for compensation across the board. And that would begin in 27, 28. And just know, I put that in there so I can build out numbers, but that does not mean I'm planning on giving this percentage as a recommendation going forward, or would even be guaranteed that they would get that, right? So that's just for planning purposes. This also includes a $110,000 reduction for the intermediate school, starting in the 27-28 school year. Our normal budgetary process, we haven't dug into that completely yet, but that as we examine all of our expenditures throughout this year and expenses going forward, such as diesel fuel and our third-party consultants and things like that, we'll be evaluating those numbers and making sure that they are up to date going forward. But as you know, compensation is the largest part. So if we're off a little bit in that, we can still get in alignment with our budget.
Ashley, just really quick on the 110K for the reduction, that we're just for the public, that's assuming that building stays as a building within the portfolio, it's being used, but it's not used for academic purposes.
Correct.
Right, okay.
And this model that we're going to showcase is I haven't made any reductions or cuts or anything in the budget going forward at this time. Do know over the next couple of years, we obviously don't know what enrollment will look like, but so we mapped out with the study and things like that, but there could be adjustments just to the budget and staffing and things aligned with that to come. Okay, so in our workshop, we went through a variety of different packages, and one of the final package that I felt like you guys landed on consisted of a 3% increase to our pretty much across the board, right? And so with the 3% increase, we also wanted to acknowledge the master's categories. And those categories we added an additional 0.63% to. We also talked about a longevity stipend, and so that stipend is for $1,000. That would happen starting your 11th year. Now, with those 3% and 3.6, 3%, we did increase the starting salary, the base for that, with a 1.5% with a bachelor's and a 2% with master's. This is the information pulled out of the Baird model. That is how we have been working through our numbers in the financial data out of Skyward and into the Baird model. We work with them very close, and again, after our meeting last week, we followed up with them to rerun to make sure that those numbers were in alignment. When we had talked previously, that number of 14.26 is where we end at the 28-29. That was 14.75. And so that is a little bit of a different number there, but we did have, I feel confident on where like the medical numbers are coming in, and also just did, I budgeted a little over for some of those stipends and things like that to make sure that individuals who are going to continue to get their masters, we can plan for that accordingly. This is broken down maybe a little bit more familiar. This is what you guys have seen previously. With this application, we want to be transparent as to how we are applying this, right? There's a variety of different ways that percentages can be applied. So these increases are simply utilizing the 25-26 salary schedule. So we took that and we applied the increase to the 3% and the 3.63 for the different lanes and across the existing schedule. And then we adjusted all of the steps forward, reflecting that progression. So each employee will advance the one step for total compensation of 3% or 3.63%. So if you're looking at it for like an example, if I was on step B this year, at $45,173, I will be on step C for the 26-27 school year, and this is the bachelor's, and I will be at $46,528, which is 3% more than last year. This concept was applied to all of the different schedules, the salary schedules, so everyone was even across the board that way. This just digs into the longevity stipend that we have talked about. So this would be during the 11th year, meaning you have been in the district for 10 years. This isn't just 10 years in education, it's 10 years with Prescott. And that is, like, we're still working out the logistics, but we built this into the model for you. So such as, do we give that check every year in March? What does that look like? But remember that this will be an annual expense. So I have planned for this going forward for every year. Also note, during the workshop, we did talk about a combination of milestones and 10-year plus. At this time, my recommendation is to just go with the longevity after 10 years. But know that next year I would like to look into it more. We talked about the salary schedule as well and maybe even combining them. But at this time, I didn't feel comfortable changing all of that. And I also want to be able to map things out going forward too. And the support staff are not in this model as well. That will be something I know, or I'm under the understanding that last year there were some changes to some of those categories.
And this year it was more of the focus on masters and longevity. The handbook language will be updated to match this, and that will be for June. And then the next two slides are of the adjustments in the salary.
Are we ready for questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Who wants to start here? Anybody? Burning questions? Pat, do you want to?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No one else is looking at me, so it's you.
Obviously, we had a good workshop last week about this. Thank you for putting this together and tightening up some of the things that we took a look at. That's awesome. I think, for me, Mike, I don't know how many questions I have. Everything that has been modeled has been discussed. For me, what we did is, when we look at the Baird model, that takes us out, into the 2030, 31, time frame. And just a couple of things to note, right? This, as it relates to our deficit spending and our fund balance, at the end of the next biennium, right? As we all know, we're at this 14.26. That is below the board policy. But it does get us to where we promised everybody we would get at the last referendum, which was to get us out 2 more budget cycles to better understand how the state was going to continue to fund public education and invest in our salaries. And I believe this model does it. So for me, it's comfortably uncomfortable, frankly, but it's where we said it was going to be. And I personally support the 3% across the board and the 3.63 for the masters. And I do like the fact that we're including the longevity. So I don't really have any questions, but I appreciate the information.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pat, I like your phrase comfortably uncomfortable. That 14.26 makes me a little uncomfortable, but I'm comfortable with the fact that as people retire, we're going to do everything we can to save some money and absorb some positions through attrition, whether it be somebody moving out of the district or retiring, as well as much as possible, adjust some of those smaller numbers. I think we'll be at 20% in 28, 29. I don't know. Diesel fuel's gone up from $3.60 a gallon to $5.20 a gallon in the last month. So I can't predict that far out in the future. But I'm comfortably uncomfortable that I think we'll be at 20% in 28, 29.
Pat, anything else?
No, I appreciate that. I think we share the sentiment and the goal. Yep.
Tanya?
Yep, echoing Pat, we did a work session on this. This is kind of what we had asked for. I think the longevity was the one kind of question, so I hear your recommendation there. I had a question. You had mentioned just moving the starting for bachelor's and master's, 1.5 and 2%. Was that based on kind of our comparison districts to kind of get them to those similar starting areas, or why the 1.5 and 2%?
Because if I took this year's starting and I added the 3%, and I gave that to the new teachers, our brand new teachers for the 26-27 would make the same dollar amount as our first year teachers in the 26-27. And so while I went with those numbers because I felt like 0.5% and 2% for the masters. And Jim and I talked about it. I felt like there should be a step there.
Yep. And then that kind of leads on to the next kind of, I guess, question, not really question, just for people that weren't there last week, you mentioned that salary schedule, that overall big charted salary schedule, that's, we noticed that there's some movement that's less equal than other spots throughout that, and so that was something that you were going to look at in the following year to kind of wrap your head around that a little bit more and maybe even that out a little bit. Is that still kind of the plan?
100%. And that was part of the reason why, we decided to shift down instead of add and readjust, because there were differences of like $1 and $1,000. And that didn't make sense. It wasn't connected to longevity or things along those lines.
Yep.
And so this allowed everybody to get that 3%. And that wasn't the case if we would have done this.
Right. And I think that that's just something to share with staff too, that there's still more to come with the work within our salary schedule. That kind of that first part of differentiating with our masters and our bachelors and kind of giving those increases, but also we recognize that this is a little wonky, and that'll give you some time to look at that. And then the last thing, I bring it up all the time, but I didn't hear anything about the specialist degree. Did you guys talk anything else about that?
So we reached out to CISA 11.
Yep.
It's a small group of people, so it's possible to discuss that in closed session coming up in the next couple months. But CISA 11's putting a poll in the field for us on that, on those specific positions and where we're at. They don't currently have data for us, so we're waiting for that information to come back. A quick note on the master's bump, half of 3.6 is 1.8. We did go with 2% on the base because one of the things the board communicated to us and our staff communicated was we needed to pay extra attention to the master's column on that, so it's a little higher than what it would be if you just did the math and divide it in half, so that the master's going forward will carry that through. But yeah, we will.
Perfect.
You may hear on that, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Good, Tony?
Yeah.
I support the 3 and the 3.6. Time to kind of ask some of the questions that I was thinking, so I don't think I have much more.
Vicki?
So when I'm looking at the Baird forecast model, what I'm seeing is, which we hadn't seen before, is we see our enrollment numbers go down with each year. Are these kind of based off of, you're looking really at the grade that's graduating and just kind of a rough estimate of what we think is coming in? Because I know as far as 4K and kindergarten, like our staff and especially they're really good at tracking who's got little brothers, little sisters, who's coming in. So is that based off of what we have right now and just kind of shifting all of that with the graduation?
So yeah, jumping back a few months, when we did the APL thing, they gave us 3 different ways to calculate our numbers. Working as an admin team, we double weighted our actual counts. So we took the APL projection, counted that as a third of the weight, and then took our actual counts and our actual little brothers and gave that twice the weight, so 2/3 of the weight, and that's what we use for a projection. Ideally, every kid, state of Wisconsin system is broken. It's been broken since 1995, but every kid that comes in would cut our deficit by roughly $12,600. So we're being conservative a little bit, but those are the numbers that the experts gave us.
Well, that's what we didn't have before, and this I think is super helpful. I think to have those numbers and to see that fluctuation with those student numbers worked into this budget and what we're looking at, because just like the fuel costs, all of that, we see those numbers moving around. This gives us an indication of that moving around. This is, this might be the worst case scenario in 28-29 that we're down to 1,115, but what if we do have all of a sudden houses, interest rate goes down, houses sell, people are like, yay, here we come, and we do get 5, 6, 10 more kids. Like, that helps us out right there and makes that 14.26 a little less.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is this assumes the per pupil mandate, or per pupil increase, that Evers signed into effect for 400 years, and you've heard all about that, of 325. But a lot of this depends on the November election and what happens after the November election as well. But as of April 15th, these are by far the best numbers we can give you, and Ashley did a great job working with Elise from Baird and our CISA 11 partners to get as close as humanly possible.
Looks good. Thank you.
Ashley, I got a couple of things here. First, I just want to call this out. None of this is possible without the support of the community in the 2024 referendum that passed. We've been working on this for years. This is a multi-year effort by the board to try to close the gap, as we kind of put it during the referendum. So we took care of part of it last year. I felt like we addressed last year most. It was increasing the pay across the board, but I think the entry level tier kind of benefited the most from that. So this year we wanted to focus we wanted to put an additional emphasis on the masters, because there was a gap there that needs to be closed. And so the rationale on why is masters getting more than bachelors? Well, last year we kind of addressed bachelors as best as we could to close a gap. Masters was this year. And the next piece I'll just comment on, we looked at many scenarios on this longevity thing. I think that was a thing that kept coming up, is how do you reward staff that have been here for years? And this is a practice that other districts use. We like it. We talked about many scenarios. I think this was the one that we felt we could accomplish with the funds that we have confidently moving forward, and not have to make adjustments down the road if things don't go well for us from a cash flow perspective. So I think that the sweet spot for us to start with anyways was $1,000 after 10 years of service. And I'm really happy about that, because I think that's a nice little bit of money to come in for each person that's been here, and they get that as one big check versus getting it spread out over many checks where it doesn't feel like it's as big of a deal. Whereas if you get a stipend, it means something. So I was glad we were able to put that in there. A couple other comments here. Why 3.63? The CPI was 2.63, right? That's where we came up with that. So people are wondering why 3.63? What's that mean? 2.63 was the CPI, so that was kind of the average. I don't know if it's the average raise that people get, but that's what most districts base it off of, right? A lot of districts aren't even given CPI this year, so there's quite a few of those that we learned about. And I'd also just like to comment, Jim, I appreciate you calling that out. Every model that we talked about last week kind of landed in that 28-29 school year was where we were going to really need to take a look at. We're going to need a plan before that, but we felt like we could get there with those referendum dollars to 2029, which is exactly what we had projected when we were going to referendum in 2024, and that's what we communicated out. I'm sure people are going to forget by 28-29, and we'll have to re-explain how we got to that point. But every model that we got to, last week we kind of played around. How far down do we want to go? I appreciate Jim's comments about trying to, we think we can get close to 20%, which is where we want to, which is kind of the floor of our fund balance. That's how we base all of our decisions off of, or a lot of it is based off that fund balance to have there. So we'll continue to hopefully track that over the course of the next year and 2 years to get us to that point. And lastly, the one thing that wasn't included in the previous projection when we went to referendum in 2024 was that enrollment decline. We were able to put that in here because we did the applied math, or what the applied math? That's
applied population.
Applied population. Now I'm going back to my days at Stout Curry. Thank you. The applied population study that was done. So, and the population study clearly shows there's a decline in enrollment. It's not just Prescott; it's everywhere. But we were able to take that data along with some of the other tactics that were used to give us information to try to trend out the declining enrollment in our projections. So hopefully that helps. I think, it was planned. This data that was brought into us last week was so well presented, and I'm saying this publicly because I want to acknowledge this. But we have a new person here that's speaking to us from finances. We got a new superintendent that's been here for 9 months, and they presented some of the data to us in such a great way that we had such a healthy discussion. We were able to crank through at least 5 different scenarios. It might have been more as we kind of were going through it on the fly, and it really made it for a very healthy, productive workshop that we got to this point for tonight, so we could feel very confident as we can be, knowing the structure of Wisconsin state politics and finance, as confident as we can be to make a decision to be comfortably uncomfortable. I love that, by the way, where we feel like we can try to do the most that we can do for the staff that we have that deserve this. And I think it's all coming together here. We'll continue to monitor it year after year until we get to this point. But I feel this is a great step forward for Prescott to help us be competitive across the school, our neighboring school districts.
Well said.
Good job.
A lot of words there. It's probably the most I can speak at one time. So, anything else anybody want to comment on before we move this?
I'll just say that Ashley's been with us for not quite 4 months. So yeah, kudos.
I mean, we threw her right into the fire.
Yeah, we did.
Well, thank you.
And so neither have been here an entire year and have done a fantastic job and have helped us out tremendously, given us what we've asked for, and made it easy to understand, easy to follow. So appreciate the hard work both of you guys have done.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Ashley. If we want to make a motion here, yeah, I'll let somebody else do it.
I move to approve staff compensation for 26-27 school year, consisting of a 3% raise for all staff, raising the certified teacher pay schedule by an additional 0.63% in the master's category, and pay all certified staff an annual stipend of $1,000, starting with their 11th year of continuous service.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Well done. Thank you. And we're going to move on to info and discussion as we close out business. First one is summer buildings and grounds. Sorry. I kind of feel like he actually is here.
Yeah, Mike Hoyk is going to come up and talk a little bit about, as I mentioned earlier, we have our custodial staff in place. We've had some medical leaves, but we're slowly transitioning to Adam Roll and Mike is working together. So Mike will see us through the end of June, and then Adam will pick up July 1.
All right. I'll just kind of little briefly go over and our projects that are under the category of referendum Fund 49. Some that have been completed. Install a cabinet heater at the middle school. Repainted the gym floor. We did that over spring break at the Malone Elementary. Those projects have been done. Another Fund 49 project will replace in the floor in 5 classrooms at the elementary, and that will start taking place in June 8th, right after school's out. Some Fund 46 projects. We had an air dryer in the shop here we had to replace. Maintaining our stormwater pond, we can get that taken care of. We had to replace the drive wheels on the bleachers at the high school. Some of these projects, we were able to get them in earlier than in the summer. Some of the contractors said, we got openings right now, so that's why some of these summer projects are already kind of done. So, sand and seal the gym floor at the high school, that will take care of in July. Some other projects that are pending out there, pricing, issuing a PO. We got to replace the whole door frame and door assembly and hardware. Door number 2, which is the heaviest use door in Malone Elementary. That will be this summer. Annual gym equipment inspection might be this summer, could be in the fall, depends on when we can get them scheduled in. Andy has a bunch of battery backup units that for his networking he needs some receptacles put in. We just went around with them today. We'll get pricing on that. Should be within our budget that we can take care of. We always got a little parking lot repairs to do. We got a bunch of dead trees we got to take care of. And actually, we got those bids, and they come under what we were estimating, so that will be good. And then, of course, the big thing, the R5 manufacturing storage shed up here. Kyle Schmidt reached out to the low bidders on the floor, on the storage shed themselves. Those prices are good. The site work, prices are still good for. Electrical work looks like it's going to come in where we'd want it. We're still waiting on a big ticket item, that's the concrete for it. So, but even at that, estimating, we're still going to be under, in the Fund 46, there's $125,000 earmarked for that shed. And even with our contingency that we're thinking, we still should be under that. So it's a project I think we should definitely move forward this spring.
Does that include kind of an estimate on concrete, Mike? Or like
at the 125?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of right where we are right now. We're probably about just under 90,000, and we haven't had that contract or any contingency in that, so we should be fine. So, and just another thing I kind of had put on that long-range 46 spreadsheet, stuff for Fund 49 relating to the 125 Elm. I just left it on there and just put it on hold until we find final determination of that building. So it's kind of earmarked there. So if we keep it, not keep it, that's determine what we're going to do with that. So.
Mike, that's the stuff in the green.
But
that's the stuff highlighted.
That's the stuff in the green. Yeah, that's all on hold. So, and then some of the other stuff that's on there under the blue future pending projects. That's just stuff we're looking at. It might be this year. It might be next year. Some of what we have on there, we're trying to find some better pricing for. So, that's about it on that.
Pat, you have any other questions?
Really, no questions. Just I know you will, but we promised Matt Wolf that we would make sure that we go through the permitting process for the shed, right?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. And we reached out to them in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because about the setback and stuff.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we met with them right away ahead of time to make sure that whatever we're discussing, we're not going to be in any future road right of ways. Yeah. So yes. Permits, we'll either go up there and apply for them ourselves. More than likely, probably be through the flooring contractor, or not flooring, the pole shed contractor.
Yep. So, okay. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Yeah, Tanya?
Yeah, I don't really have any questions. Thank you.
All right.
Vicki?
I got nothing for you, Mike, but
All right.
nice to see you again. I haven't seen you for a few months, so it's been quiet. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
No questions?
All right.
Mike, with the the intermediate school stuff, the stuff that was highlighted in green.
Yep.
That looks to be about just south of 800K. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
And so, I mean, it includes a roof and then it looks like some.
There's two expensive things would be the roof down there, and that's, probably something, if you kept the building, it would have to be done probably in 2030. That rooftop unit, that's probably something that's more in the line of the next year or two that you'd have to deal with. So,
okay. So
and that's the makeup air unit for the whole 3-story part of the building with the humidification. So
okay.
So
yeah,
so if we continue on as an academic building, then we have to seriously look at that. if it's going to be used somewhere else, we can do other things for air exchange. So.
Okay, great. The list is getting shorter. So
Yeah.
that's exciting, right?
Yep. Yep.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Yep, no
Anything
problem.
else here? Jimmy, you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a
Thank
lot.
you, Mike.
Yep.
And then I think we could move on to item B, virtual charter school exploration.
Ooh. I thought we did this.
Mr. Figge is putting forth this proposal for the board's consideration, information now and possible consideration at a future board meeting. Josh, there's a clicker right there for you.
Thank you. You guys have sat for a long time. Do you want to get up and do some burpees?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pat.
Hour and a half. This is short.
There's been a lot of heavy stuff on this tonight too. So I know Caden wants to do burpees. All right. So let's see. We're coming to you again. I think we two or 3 years ago we actually explored this a little bit. We did kind of a cursory exploration at that time. We didn't really feel like there was. It wasn't the right time. We didn't have some of the right pieces in place, and maybe our purpose wasn't fully realized yet. We're coming back tonight with more of a recommendation, and I think a stronger purpose than we've had in the past, to explore and potentially adopt a charter to add a virtual charter school into our district. And even though Mr. Kosmolsky and Mr. Reef have consistently asked me if I'm really married to the name Rivers Edge Virtual Academy, which I'm not, that's what we're going to call it right now for the sake of the presentation. So just a quick overview for people who maybe don't know what a virtual charter school is and why you would need a virtual charter. In this case, Rivers Edge Virtual, REVA. This would be a 6 through 12 virtual charter that would run virtually for students. So it would be 100% tuition free, but it would also be 100% virtual. And the reason it's a charter is because it allows us to recruit out-of-district students. And the only way to recruit out-of-district students that aren't going to set foot on your physical property during the school day is to actually adopt a virtual charter. And so while our enrollment would primarily be looking at open enrolled students, it would also appeal to other students that we have in district right now that have historically even either open enrolled out or maybe have been homeschooled, or even some of our own students who are going through just a different educational pathway and could benefit from some of the flexibility that a virtual charter could afford. So I'm going to get into some of the aspects of this, but I know there's going to be a lot of questions that come along with it, so hopefully I can kind of hit the 5,000 foot level, and then you guys can really just tear me apart up here for what this is. Why are we recommending a virtual charter in the first place? And I kind of inkled at this a little bit already. First off, we have a number of students, and this has grown at the 6 through 12 level in the past 5 years, really since COVID, looking for flexibility. We have a number of students who yearly are open enrolling out of our district and seeking an education at a virtual school in small districts like Elmwood, large districts like St. Croix Central, I-4 through Grantsburg, because we don't currently offer the ability to have this type of flexibility for them. We also have some surrounding districts like Elmwood who offer a virtual charter school who get an influx of more than $250,000 more in the per pupil funding because they simply offer a virtual charter. So we're also looking to not only retain our current students, but we're also looking to recruit more students. And I think one of the themes we've heard tonight, both at the listening session and in some of our numbers, is we have lowering enrollment like a majority of Wisconsin districts, and we're not in charge of building more homes. So this is a way that we could recruit more pupils into our district. One of the other things that we typically experience, and I think it's more so at the high school, and Mr. Montreal can attest to this, is we do have a lot of students who will seek educational opportunities through a virtual school outside of the district, and then at the end of the year or a year later or 2 years later will come back to us credit deficient because they're going through a system that is really profit driven and is not monitoring their academic performance like we would, and then drops them before graduation, and we're really scrambling to try and help those students get back on track. So it gives us some local control in how we deliver that program to students. So that's kind of our strategic value and our purpose for bringing this to you. And we think that we have a number of students who are currently in district even who are already open enrolled or who are open or who are homeschool students who would benefit from this. What does this look like though? Because I think that's going to be the crux of this. And we have kind of two facets to this. We have an existing partnership with Ed Options Academy. That's something that we have had for about 8 years now. We have students who take Ed Options classes, these virtual classes that are delivered by a Wisconsin licensed teacher because we have a course conflict, because we don't offer that course in-house because of the size of our district. So we already have a pretty rich partnership with them. We also deliver courses in the summer for students to take summer school or do credit recovery through Ed Options. And this is something they've partnered with other schools nationwide to help deliver, and they actually have a model of how to implement this into a virtual charter into Wisconsin schools. The other thing we have is we do have teaching staff that periodically, based on schedules and student requests, will have an open period in their day for certain terms. And one of the things I've discussed with our PLC leaders is whether they would be interested in taking on some virtual management, some virtual classes, and teaching some of those or managing the learning and communication of those when those gaps emerge. And the response from our leaders was they felt like a lot of teachers would be very interested in that and doing some virtual teaching. And that would keep some of our staff, especially as enrollment dips down, that would be a stopgap to keep some of our staff that could be falling down to like a 0.8 or a 0.7 position. It could keep them at 100% in the years to come if our enrollment continues to trend down. So it's got kind of an ancillary benefit for some of our staff as well. There is a difference. So for the uninitiated into virtual charters versus traditional schools, it's really all bets are off with a virtual charter, and it comes down to how you want to structure it. So you really have to be careful of how you structure the school, and you can kind of see the side-by-side comparison here. A traditional school is very synchronous. It's teacher-led. It's dictated by the Department of Public Instruction. We have a certain amount of hours we need to meet each year. Grades are delivered a certain way. We obviously have a fixed bell schedule. And on the other side, a virtual charter is asynchronous. It's self-paced by the students, although we have learner managers on our side and teachers who are keeping students on pace. But a good example is I have a student right now who's working virtually who works part of the day, and then I can see that every evening she does 4 hours of work from about 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And when we communicate, that's just the time of day that she says works best for her. It's more standards-based, and students can work ahead, and once they meet the standard, they move on. One of the things, and we did an exploration call with a couple of different virtual charters that are operating across Wisconsin. Really crucial was Glenn Webb, who started 2 of these. He started one in St. Croix Central. It's got about 250 current students, and then he's currently managing the one in Elmwood. They have about 25 students right now. So really crucial is understanding what the purpose of this is and how you can deliver the outcomes. And one of the things that he advocated for and talked to us about is the credits that go into a virtual charter versus an on-site school. So you can kind of see for a student to earn a diploma through Prescott High School, and that is our on-site district-driven high school, it's 64 credits over 4 years. We're proposing a 40-credit diploma through this external virtual school. They would not get a Prescott diploma. They would get a virtual charter school REVA diploma that it would be 40 credits. And the state of Wisconsin, the minimum, and some high schools actually abide by this, is 34 credits. So we far exceed the amount of credits on our traditional high school that are required by the state. We did not want to meet the bare minimum. So we exceeded that by another 6 credits because we want students, if this is going to be something that we pursue, we don't want this to be, and excuse the term, the puppy mill of virtual education where we're just churning students through for a profit and we're not worried about academics. So we wanted to set students up for success, that if they wanted to go to a 4-year or a 2-year or the workforce or the military, that they would not only have the skills necessary, but that their transcript would look good enough that they would be accepted into a UW school. And even the UW system will accept a 34 credit student application. It's not as competitive, obviously, if you graduate under the traditional system. So again, we added the 6 credits on top of that. Again, there's no facility that needs to go into this, and the geography is really going to be for open enrolled students off-site. Probably the biggest question that I'm guessing this group would have is, what do we need to do for this? What are the risks and what's the liability? How does this look? It is a little complex. So the way that Wisconsin writes their rules for virtual charter schools assumes that an external entity is approaching you as the school board to contract with them and allow them to operate within our school district. And that's just not the way it happens. More than 90% of the virtual charters out there are doing what I'm proposing right now. It's the school district trying to start their own virtual charter so they can recruit more students into the district. But we still need to operate under the rules, if we're going to do this, that the state sets out. So the state sets out that you, as the school board, would have authorization of the charter, which is the contract, and you would have ultimate oversight. And really what that means is that yearly, the virtual charter would report to you on the academic performance of the students, the financial performance and management of that school, and the legal liabilities or legal issues, which would hopefully be none, that emerge during the year. The rest of the operations actually falls to an external governance council that needs to be made up of a group of stakeholders within the virtual charter. So we, again, in talking with some of the people who have done this, they recommended 7 to 9 members. My recommendation would be we would go on the smaller side with 7. My recommendation would be that 3 of those members are actually made up of school district employees. And I think like Michael Kosmolsky would be a natural choice. An administrator would be a natural choice. I'm volunteering him. He doesn't know this. And then a teacher, and hopefully a teacher who's actually working within the virtual charter, or at least part-time within the virtual charter. The remainder of the members need to be made up of either a community member or my recommendation would be 3 of those should be parents of students who are in the virtual charter. Much like you guys are stakeholders who have students or have had students who have gone through the Prescott School District, I think our best partnership model would be having parents who are tied into this virtual charter and have an invested interest in the success. They have autonomy over the daily operations. They manage the budget. They get to look at the programming and chart out the programming and staffing within the finances that are available to them. And we can kind of talk about finances. I got like 2 more slides for you, because this was the one area that I think the last time we did this was kind of the holdup. We didn't have confidence that we had the best handle on finances and that the district office would be able to essentially run a separate finance operation for an external charter. And I think you saw Ashley doing it today, and now she knows she gets to potentially take this journey too. We'll just throw into everything. But we also have made some new partnerships of people who have done this and are running this, and they have told us that while it looks more complex from the outside, it's actually quite easy as long as you don't fall into one pitfall that they said SCC fell into, and that is not following the budgeting rules of the virtual charter. And that budget rule is up there, 30-70 split. And they said that most charter schools who get in trouble for financial mismanagement are just funneling all that money to the district and not leaving enough money set aside for the virtual charter. So in essence, when we get per pupil funding for those kids coming in under the open enrollment, 70% of that needs to be allocated back to running the virtual charter. That could be paying for Ed Options Academy seats. That could be paying, for example, if one of our teachers was teaching a period of a virtual charter of a REVA class, we could cover that period of their salary with this money. It could be used on technology, and some of that can have an ancillary benefit for our students in the district as well. The other 30% can be utilized by the district for the needs that they have. And then at the end of the year, one thing that we were told by Glenn Webb, who's run 2 of these, is there is a mechanism that, like this year, he said, the 70% allocated to their virtual charter, they will spend about 30% of that, 70%. The rest, there is a mechanism to invest that for the future for both the district and the virtual charter school. So that is an option for us moving forward if we decide to take this step. One of the things I think, if you're doing the mental math in your head, if we go completely with Ed Options Academy, Ed Options costs $2,500 a year per student. That's unlimited classes. And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but for a student to come in, if they were open enrolled in, that would be about $12,000, and I'm just rounding.
It's a little closer to $11,000.
$11,000.
So that'd give us $7,700. You take the $2,500 off that puts $5,200 into the RVA coffer, and $3,300 into the district's coffer.
Yeah. And that's after paying for their full spectrum of classes and teaching. So I do want to say that it's scalable. It's, if we get 0 students, we're out 0 money. If we get 1 student, we're not going to lose. We have no loss of money on this, so it can scale up. It can scale down based on the size of the program. And then the last thing is just kind of the stakeholder groups and what would go into this. We have our district staff, we have our governance council, and I'm lumping you guys in with the district staff. And then we have Ed Options Academy. Not to get too far out over my skis, but in the conversations with Mr. Montreal, Mr. Igo, because this is a 6 through 12, Mr. Kosmalski, Mr. Reef, we would envision a day that if this was popular enough, and we had teachers who were interested enough, one of the things that River Falls does is they actually ask their teachers if anyone wants to be on an overload, because they have so many students that do this. And I think, Helen, you might know this, that they're paying an extra stipend for staff that are willing to do that. If we got to a certain point that we could reduce Ed Options contract down to just elective classes, and we were able to cover their core classes, well, then it would cost us $600 a year for Ed Options, and we would be able to cover more of our teachers' salaries through this. So again, I think one of the things that hearing from my staff, their worry is as they hear more about lowering enrollment, they're worried about what does the longevity of my job look like? Is it going to be a full-time job? And one of the large premise for me is, can we problem solve through that now, so that when we get to that point, or if we ever get to that point, we have a solution that could help us mitigate some of the impacts of that. So I'm going to take your questions, because I just threw a lot at you all.
All right. Who's looking at me? Anyone?
I can start.
Go ahead.
Was it already 2 years ago? Gosh, I thought it was like last year, but so I remember talking about this. My district has a separate school that is an online school. It doesn't have a great name like yours, but it is got a name. So ours is just Sawashko Online. So great, but I am pretty aware of how these models work and stuff, and so my questions are maybe more just management type questions I think about and things that we've run into. One is your staff talked about longevity, and I mean, to be frank, we are losing staff FTE allocations because more of our kids are going to online. And so every department, every year, it's a couple staff. So that's something I think we got to kind of work through. We're a small district, and I think that it just, what we talk a lot to our staff about is that we have to make it more valuable to want kids to be here in person. And like, that's the experiences in the classrooms, that's the you know, all the things we've talked about all this whole meeting, that those are what makes kids want to be in school, in person, those connections, relationships, all of that stuff. So that is something though to consider and to plan for. I was wondering, do kids have to be all in or partially in? Because my school district, they can take 1 or 2 classes, or they can take full online, and there's a different look for that. Have you guys, is it an all or nothing thing, or?
If you're a Prescott, so if you're a Prescott resident, if you reside, you can do a hybrid.
Sure.
If you're open enrolled, it's all or nothing.
And I mean, the hybrid works great in a lot of ways because I'm a kid that needs to work for whatever reason. And so I need my 5th and 6th hour off, or our kids that maybe have families at a young age. Like, it does give a lot of flexibility for that. So, and then I was wondering about special education services, because that is something that we have run into a lot of issues, honestly, with online, how those look, who's able to access it. You don't want to discriminate and all that stuff. So.
And Sandy and I have talked about that. That was something that we brought up in the meeting, because quite honestly, and I know Mr. Webb would be okay with me talking about this, Elmwood had closed theirs. So we were closed to special education students. When Mr. Montreal and I had talked this over and talked with Mr. Igo, we felt like we really didn't want to close it if we could afford to keep it open. And so we approached Sandy Strand, and the consensus we had was we would want this to be available to everybody. Ed Options does have special education services that they offer that are above and beyond, but we would also want to allocate staff in district to say, we're going to support you, but we need to know what your individual learning plan is going to look like as we build it together.
And I think Ed Options is like really, I think it's the piece that makes this really doable in my mind. My district doesn't have that, right? So we're all pulling from our staff for every class, every license area, we have to fill it. Where, like, when we talk about longevity and staff retention in person here, like, that is a really big impact, because you can just do the Ed Options kind of class and do that instead, which is great. So I don't have a ton of questions. I mean, it is the way kids are moving. I feel like the high school I work at is a college campus. Kids are in and out all day long doing very unique ways of learning that are, we've talked a lot in education. It's been the same for so many years. You just have the rows of desks and whatever. It has shifted in the since COVID. And so kids are looking for something different. They're finding something different. And if it's not something we offer, they find it. And I mean, we experience that too. So I think it's great. You brought up homeschool. This would probably help out a lot of our families that are struggling to teach chemistry at home. You know, like, there's some other ways to do that. And so, I think it looks great. It's a big takeover. So I know we're just talking about it now, but I know you're excited about it. I can tell. So Michael is too. Now he's on the board. So, great. No other questions?
Pat, I too know somebody who is familiar with Tanya's district. And first off, I want to back up. I know a lot of our questions and comments make it sound like we're problem identifiers, and we might not be. Thank you for the vision and for being open and being creative and entrepreneurial. I mean, that is awesome. I wanted to echo what Tanya said. I think the feedback that I get is that there seem to be a lot of maybe unintended consequences as it relates to staffing, and what appears on the surface to be a good thing and added flexibility is creating problems. Now that's at a whole different scale, and maybe not a great comparison to our district size, but it is something that I hear about a lot. Tanya did a really good job of questions. Thank you for answering my question about how the charters are funded. That was a big one. I think the last time this got brought up, we also talked about additional administrative costs, and I understand that scale has a big part of this, but at what point in time, so let's say we just got out of the chute, and you said Elmwood hit 250 students?
St. Croix Central's got about 252.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. But like, at what point in time do we feel like we would need to add additional administrative staff to be able to scale this appropriately? It might make sense.
No, that's a great question. I think, not to steal from Jim during the listening session, he said, I can't forecast. I would say it's not in our vision right now to have to do that. I think right now with where we're at, we've got a really good team. I think adding Ashley to the team kind of added that last piece on the finance that we were really looking for, where I hear the direction going and having conversations with the two people who are in the room administratively, and then Mr. Igo as well with Sandy. I think we've got kind of a vision of how we would divide what we have right now, because the essence of this is not to add a cost. The essence of this is to make it work with what we have right now. And, Elmwood's got 25 kids. They're a smaller district than we are. They have a superintendent and a high school principal that run the entire thing with a counselor who does the testing for the kids. I don't think in the first year or two we're going to get 25 kids. That's just, if we got 25 kids, that would be amazing. But I think it's going to take a few years to scale up, which is one of the reasons why I think the deadline to have this approved year by year to get on the virtual charter list is January 30th. We missed that this year. Instead of waiting until next November to start bringing this up, we felt like we'd bring it up now. If we can get approved sometime over the summer, our experience is typically August and September have a huge migration pattern of students seeking out different opportunities. So even though we're not on the list officially for the open enrollment period, we would be on the list for the summer. And it would give us kind of that long on-ramp to learn what we don't know right now and kind of then refine over the course of the next year.
Awesome. You might have, I don't know, I was trying to take a note. So in order for a kid to enroll in a virtual, what's the vision of what would be required? Do they just get to sign up? Do they need parents to sign off? How does that work?
Yeah, so you have to go through the open enrollment process, which is dictated and managed by Wisconsin and DPI. But let's just assume they go through all of that paperwork, and there's a little bit of a different process for the regular open enrollment period, which is February, March, versus what they call the emergency open enrollment period, which is going to be every other time of year. We would still take students, and at that point, then they would start to meet with myself or Mr. Igo and a counselor, or if they had a special education need, an IEP, we're going to bring in a case manager. We're going to look at what that IEP says, because that's a legal document. And the first thing we're doing is looking at developing an individual learning plan for every student. So not only what does it look like for the next term, but what does this year look like? And if you're a freshman, what does your 4-year plan look like? Because I don't want to go year by year. So and that's something that we try and do with a lot of our students as well. And we would map out their pathway towards graduation based on what they want their post-secondary goals to be. And then we would connect them with a coach via Ed Options, who will keep them on pace and reach out to them. And then they would have somebody assigned here who would also be a coach, working with their parents, working with the student. That's all the documentation. And that's actually something that we've written into a draft charter that would be then shared with this board or this body every June as kind of our share out of, are we doing our job? Are we hitting our metrics? Have we done what we said we were going to do in terms of the best academics for students?
So there's a process and some rigor that would prevent, like Mike Matzik, 1992, saying, I just don't want to go to school today and I'm just going to do virtual because it's easier.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Perfect.
There's also, and I just, not to be long-winded up here, but if the virtual charters that do it right, there is a mechanism whereby you release students who are not academically meeting their goals. And our not so great partners, and I'm not going to name them, they keep kids for years because they still get the funding whether those kids participate or not. Yeah. And I don't want that to be our reputation. So we have a very defined timeline in the documents that we've got put together to say, if you're not participating and you're not communicating and your parents not communicating, at some point when we get to the end of a term, we're releasing you back to your own district and we're communicating with them all the way through to say, you're going to get somebody, they're going to be credit deficient by one term. You need to be ready for them because here's what we're seeing.
last question, and Ashley, this might be unfair, but I'm not expecting it. Like, let's say we do this, we go a couple years and we say it's not working, enrollment just isn't there, like, but we've got 5 students, right? But it just no longer fits our needs. What kind of liabilities, right, that would maybe exist that would have to stay on our books? Whatever that means. I don't even know what that means, but there's got to be some sort of liability that we would be responsible for, right? That we would have to manage.
It should be a year-to-year cost for the most part. We're not looking at investing in, a physical building or much technology beyond what we currently have. So with the fact that, like Josh said, we get about $11,000 and $3,300 of that goes to the district right away, and that's $7,700 for Riva. That leaves us about $5,200. So even if we're buying kids a $2,000 laptop, there shouldn't be a whole lot because it's virtual going forward.
And we think it's a year-to-year, so the commitment to the students year-to-year, and the commitment to, I forgot who the virtual partner would be, but Ed Options is a year-to-year, we think.
Well, and you're talking purely financial, right?
Yeah,
what is our
yeah.
liability?
Well, yes, but maybe not. I mean,
Okay.
Is there other risks?
So outside of financial, the way that most of these charter contracts are written is a 5-year contract between the district and the virtual charter. Simply because, think about it, it takes 3 years to really get something up to speed, a year of refinement. That last year is really your review process as a board to say, is this something we want to renew or not? So that's the way we've got our draft written right now. However, within that contract, there are 6 clauses whereby you as a board can terminate that contract and terminate that charter at any time. And that's based on the Wisconsin statute. So that's if there's a legal liability that you're not willing to take on, financial mismanagement, students aren't meeting their academic metrics that we've set out. It's being mismanaged. Now, again, hopefully that doesn't happen because the management's happening in-house instead of out-house. But you can terminate that. You can also take over the charter school at any time. So the liability is actually fairly minimal because of those things, as long as we're doing what we say we're going to do, which is reporting out to you and being very transparent. The financial management, and this is where I would need to work more with Glenn Webb because he's done this. What he mentioned is there is a fund that at the end of the year, let's say they have 25 kids. Right now, he showed me their books. They're going to have $180,000 left over at the end of this year. They're not going to spend. There is a long-term savings that they can put that into a fund, and then it doesn't just need to go toward their version of Riva after that. Then it can be utilized by the district for other means. Not any means, but for other means because it's under a long-term savings. So I think there is a mechanism where they've looked at that. I don't have that answer, but I can certainly reach out to Glenn and get the answer for you.
Awesome. Thanks.
And I would just add too, one of the things that I've seen in the past is when a student signs up for classes, we commit as the district to pay for that, and then the student doesn't follow through. That is a commitment that we would have and the liability that we would have, but we would be planning for that, so we would know what those numbers are.
Okay. Thank you.
Vicki, any questions?
First of all, a little, I should say, kind of surprised but not surprised Elmwood has been very open with you, which is great, and the fact that it's through the school district, that it's started by them and they're running it, and most of them are run by schools, but that just kind of shows me why we do have the fly-by-night charter schools that open up, because that's some 25 kids, an extra 100 and, what'd you say, 30?
Well, right now they've got about $180,000.
180 sitting around, so, if we can do this, that just, if other schools are doing it, which I know that St. Croix Central, I think Jim had sent us something that they're actually adding to their virtual staff. They're having to cut their regular staff because they're losing enrollment, yet their virtual students are going up. So they're seeing that shift, and I know they've been doing it for a while. They've managed to make it work. The fact that Elmwood's such a small district has been able to make it work. I think, yeah, you've given us a lot of stuff and definitely a lot more than last go around. And the only thing that I am concerned about because of the timelines is you're talking January 1st, so you'd like to work on something through the, hopefully get us something so we could get a vote for next year. Next year, we've tasked everybody with consolidating and switching and moving around buildings. I guess I'm a little reluctant to say, yep, let's move forward with this right away, just because, again, we don't know what all of that's going to look like. We hope it goes smoothly, but we don't know. And I guess throwing more onto your guys' plates while we're right in the middle of making plans to do all that stuff, that is my only kind of hesitation with, like, giving you that timeline saying, yep, get her done. So I know you guys are probably go, yep, nope, we can do it. We've got all this planning, but that's just it. We got to get Ashley involved. We got a lot of other stuff that we got to get involved. So I guess now knowing that we've got that January timeline, if we're not looking at this year, at least we know where we're at moving forward. So that's kind of all I've got as a comment right now.
All right. Well, I think they've said a lot, but as an educator, I mean, there's parts of me that are concerned about this. There's parts of me that get it, right? Education is individualized and it works best when it's individualized. And obviously there's a demographic of students out there that this works for. And families that it works for. So there is definitely the exploration of it is important. The only thing I would say that might be good to look at is that REVA Governance Council. How really that I would want to know how that's chosen. That would have to be mapped out very specifically. Because you have to, your governing body is one of the most important things because they're deciding, what goes on that daily operations, like you said. So that would be one thing. And I get really concerned about the lifting that's going to do for the admin that are in charge of it. I think this is a lot. You did an awesome job, and that's a lot. But I really I do get concerned. So I think when you come back, which I won't be here, but when you come back, I might be out there. She might be out there. When you come back, for our staffs and our admins' sanity, to really truly know what this lift is going to look like, so we're not biting off more than we can chew. This is the way of the future.
I appreciate you looking out for me.
Oh.
I want to note, Vicki, you said that it was really nice to see Mike, and you didn't say the same thing to me. So.
Great to see you.
It's great to see you.
That's what I know. Let's do it.
Be here now, Mike. Josh, great presentation. It's fun to see this kind of come to a conceptual possibility here. I'm not going to regurgitate anything except I was interested in about how the governance worked. I don't think we need to talk about it now. How you the process for selecting people. What happens if you get a couple of parents that just don't want to do it anymore, and you get below that threshold of 7? Finding people that you try to stay above that minimum requirement. I don't know how stringent that is by state statute, or if there's really any rules around that.
It's not. What we were recommended is, at least for the district positions, make them truly based on not a specific person, but based on the position itself. So your teaching and learning, your special ed director. So regardless of who holds that position, for the parents, they said that's the hardest part of staffing the council because a lot of students who are in virtual charters tend to be moving from one to the other.
Yeah.
And so the recommendation we got from 2 different charters was find parents that you can forge a really good relationship with, that you can hold on, that you feel like you can keep their kids there for multiple years. And it's not an election. It's simply by choice. So it's not like a school board election. If they do leave, you try and find somebody else and you reach out to them to fill the position. We got got feedback that unfortunately there are months when that governance council is meeting and you have your district people, you have your community person, and you maybe have one parent, but not all three or not all five of the parents show up, and so you carry on with your business.
Do they kind of act like you have to have a quorum? Is that all like, or is it pretty loose?
It's more loose than what this body operates by.
All right. And then from okay, we have governance oversight of the charter school, but there's as far as like the day-to-day operations, there's really no extra responsibility that the school board, Prescott School Board would have. It would all be run through that governance committee.
Correct.
And then they just report back to us and whatnot.
Essentially, you would probably see only 2 times a year would you really recognize that something's going on, and that would be June, and then that would be at the end of July. And you get your 2 reports. You get your financial reports. You get your academic reports.
Okay.
From the school.
Yeah. All right. That pretty much. Oh, extracurricular activities. Do they get access to that? No.
If you are. So again, it's weird, and it depends on the activity. But let's just take it as a blanket statement. If you are doing a WIAA activity and you're a virtual charter enrollee, you cannot participate in sports. Could you go to prom? Sure. There's nothing that holds them back from that. I think that would be something that's so nuanced we'd have to talk about. Could you participate in the play? It's only managed by us. Sure, you could do that. But anything that's WIAA or the dance, anything that's operated by an external board, no. They are not our students. They are the student of a different school that just happens to operate within our boundaries, and that's under your oversight.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Anything, Jim?
Josh, before you leave, so this is for information and discussion. Josh, you talked about trying to spend some time getting to do this so we're ready for January. Should we have you back in May to do information and discussion again? Is the board interested in scheduling a vote in May or June? Type of thing. Josh, what would work? What would be your best timeline?
I think timeline-wise, I think it really depends. The group that I work with administratively, I think we felt like summer is when we go into the bat cave and we can kind of work on things, and so if you were able to feel like you were comfortable making a vote over the summer in June maybe, that gives us July and August, and then in August is when you get a lot of open enrollees coming in. So that would give us kind of a first shot at seeing what we could do. If we wait until next year, that's okay. It just pushes us out a year to see what we can get for students. I think, Mr. Montreal, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe once every 3 weeks we have a student and a family that's coming to us right now and saying, we're going to go online. Can you do it? Otherwise, can you give us a recommendation? So I think we've probably lost or almost lost 4 or 5 students this year, and we've started to do more in-house virtual just because we're trying to stop the flow.
And I think it's been all or nothing. It used to be the hybrid model that Tom used, but now it's like, we want the whole thing. So it's been a shift that I think we recently have to do well.
Yeah. So preferably, we would have some time this summer, if you're willing to meet that timeline. We would have some time this summer to put together that governance council, to put together the model, to shore up our relationship with that options, to know that we might have more students coming in, and to get our, I think Courtney's doing open enrollments now. So to get Courtney on board for what that's going to look like coming into a virtual charter versus on site. And then to be able to kick off August and September to see if we can recruit and retain some of our kiddos.
So shoot for June, see if we can get there, and then we'll make a decision hopefully.
Do we want to keep this on information discussion in May and have Josh come back with the questions that the board asked?
Sure. If you have information to share, or yeah.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest ones I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, it sounds like the financial liability would be a big one. What happens to the money that we don't spend?
What happens to the money? Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I'll reach out to Dr. Webb.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, let's keep moving here. We got 3 more items. Staffing levels.
So this is a little bit new, I guess, to Prescott, but it's
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. That a lot of districts do. This is printed out in the board envelope, so you have it on a paper copy. To make it so it's somewhat readable, we put it on a couple slides. This is basically a breakdown of what we are looking at for staffing for next year per building. Goals, a couple things. Number one, the goal is to really start to track where our staff at, where we're using staff, what are our pupil to teacher ratios at each level. At Malone Elementary, we're looking basically three teachers per grade level, 4 special education teachers. That might drop down to 3 if we don't replace Di Morth, and we're kind of trying to figure out exactly where the numbers between shared staffing between Malone and the intermediate school would be. But it gives you a breakdown of exactly what we're using, and this is just for the board's information. Technically, we don't have a library or library assistant, but we do have some literacy classes that are down there, so students are getting in the library, and that is taught as one of our specials. Shows you the administrative assistants, the instructional assistants. Those are individuals and not full-time staff. Again, those are part-time staff. Then the intermediate school, you can take a look at that. Again, a lot of those .33 PE teachers, guess what? That person shared with Malone. They're .66 at Malone, .33 at the intermediate school, etc. Again, instructional assistants are at 29.5 hours a week. That one administrative assistant, that one principal are a little different because, as we all know, Mr. Kozmowski does teaching and learning, and Kathy works with him on that as well. At the middle school, those are staffing levels. 6th grade, again, is about 1 to 20 students. 7th grade is 1 to 21.25. 8th grade is about 1 to 23. 3 special education teachers for 37 students. You take a look at your health and PE. We did our best to reach out to all these things. We intentionally didn't want to discuss staff members, but there are some, like we talked about in the listening session, that are kind of divided up. Our occupational therapists, our adaptive phy-ed teachers, stuff like that are really kind of bouncing all over. So we did our best to put those in there as well. And then at the high school, these are our levels of high school, where we're at, 1 principal, 1 assistant principal, 2 counselors. And again, the reason we wanted to really put this out there is just so we can get a baseline going forward. What are our staffing levels over the next 5 to 10 years, so the board can do a side-by-side comparison with student enrollment numbers and staff numbers, and most importantly, as a administrative team, we're making sure we have the right people, the right programs, and we're the right size for our kids and to be financially responsible.
Vicki, any questions about this?
No, this was pretty cool. I was slightly confused. I got it now. The .5 library, got it. Shared between the 2. Same with the phys ed, I'm like, okay, how do you have 1.5 or so? Okay, I get it. This is kind of nice to see, though. We've got specific numbers in each school and how teachers are spread out, so that's nice.
Helen?
Just a quick question. If there's not a required or not a required bucket buy it, is that just a position that we have that we chose? Like,
those should be all the totals.
About these.
So I just meant like, so when you're at the athletic director.
Yeah, the athletic director is technically not required. There's not another school district that I know of in Wisconsin that has a PCR or a PCE director.
It just goes through, because we have,
they're on the salary schedule, so we wanted to put them there. But, PCR, the vast majority of school districts don't run their, their extracurricular activities outside of the middle school and high school level.
So essentially, they're not required, but.
Yeah, they should probably be technically not required.
Okay, all right, that's my only question.
Can we just add that for this document? This is just kind of the initial run through of this, as far as the sections of those go, and to be able to use this going forward to help us kind of be alignment and budget and things like that. So this is not like 100% accurate, and there could be some things coming to it, but just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Pat? It's good to see it on one document, and it'll be great for trending in the future. So, yeah, thanks for putting it together.
Tanya?
Yep, echo Pat. I did have a question in middle school. It just says like 6th grade.
Yes.
Or 7th grade. What is that?
So we listed them by grade. We had that debate. 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade traditionally right now are taught as one is teaching all the English sections, one's teaching all the science sections, social studies sections, and math sections. However, you know, if we have a change in programming, that doesn't necessarily have to stay that way throughout the years. So we did have that discussion, but at that grade level and at that licensing level, as a 6th grader, you can technically, 6th grade teacher, you can 7th or 8th, you can technically teach all core subject areas. So that's why we listed them that way. Once you get to the high school level, you are a math teacher, an English teacher, a science teacher. So I appreciate that question because I should have done a better job explaining that. Yeah, so right now, if we wanted to break it down individually, I could tell you who the 6th grade math teacher is, et cetera. But that's kind of, we're trying to kind of avoid that.
Yeah.
Especially if we, you know, down the road have reductions due to declining enrollment and we lose the 6th grade teacher, somehow we're going to have to figure it out that somebody's teaching 2 different subjects.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, good information. I appreciate you guys putting this together, and it will be useful for trending. Let's keep moving. Staff handbook.
Yep, this should be 35 seconds. Staff handbook, just an update. I promised I'd put this on every single board meeting, so I'm a little bit checking that box, but we've been working continuously with the Superintendent Advisory Committee, the admin team, and Vicki and Tanya as board members. We included the staff survey results in the board's packet. Ashley's been, as everybody's seen, diving hard into salary structures and compensation, so I've been kind of leading this one. Now that we're past the compensation model, Ashley and I are going to sit down over the next couple weeks. Well, not next week because she has Skyward training on Monday and Tuesday, and I have the WASDA conference Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So the week after that, we're going to sit down and really hammer out the handbook language and hopefully bring all that to the board for the May board meeting. But the areas we've really been discussing is increasing personal days that are allowed with a subsequent decrease in sick days. The bereavement language, that's one's been somewhat of a struggle because it's hard to tell how important somebody is to somebody else. Blackout days when teachers and staff can use their personal days and not. A lot of technical changes that can be as simple as turning he, she into they, them, or something like that. And then the other one we're working with right now with our partners down at WEA is our 403B vesting language. And as far as the listening sessions, Courtney, how many people did we have here at 5 o'clock? So we had 20 to 25 people here today at 5 o'clock. Our next one is April 30th at 6 p.m. in the intermediate school cafeteria. I did walk the 2-block radius of the intermediate school, and every door that I could find that would actually hold on to a flyer, I stuck a flyer in. We got flyers posted around. We've emailed flyers to all the parents. We put it up on Facebook, so I was very happy to see 20 to 25 people. Courtney took notes tonight. We'll take notes again on the 30th and make sure that everything that gets to us gets to the board in a summary document after we're done with those listening sessions. Also, I told people that if they want to email the board, just to email it to me, and again, we'll compile all those emails into a summary docket for the board that you'll get for the Mason meeting.
Vicki, any comments or questions at the listening session, right?
Yep, it was good. There was a fair amount of people showed up. There was a lot of really good back and forth. A lot of the same kind of concerns that we have. And, you know, we're hearing some of them from heard some of that from the people who were here. And I think it's just more of a be out there in front of it, and I think everybody who was here appreciates that and is glad that we're asking them for their input, so.
Helen?
I have nothing.
Tanya?
Nothing.
Pat? No questions. Happy to see the handbook changes. I know we talked about it in previous meetings, but we're good to see that we're way out in front of it this year, and staff will be able to see this before the end of the school year. And glad to hear the listening sessions. The little bit of feedback I caught from folks that were here was just the transparency and the ability that the decision for the board and with help of the administration to really kind of slow the train down and take our time to allow people to have feedback. I think it was very appreciated to learn more about it. So hopefully that comes out in some of the reports too, but just a little bit I heard. So last one is school consolidation progress report.
That was just in your meeting school listening
That was
sessions.
what we did. All right, we're done.
I
So we
skipped that
kind
one
of
on
rolled
Mike.
through those last two.
Yes.
That means we can end the info and discussion. Go back to public comment. Anybody care to be recognized at this time? No. All right. Board will consider a motion to convene in closed session. Everybody's favorite words. Sorry. Under exemptions, 1985 1C and 1985 1E in room 109. And do I got to say anything else? Or I think that's it. Just got to list the statutes. Right?
Somebody's got
So we need a motion with a time.
I move to convene in closed session under exemptions 1985.1 in room 109 of Prescott High School at 8:35.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. And thank you, everyone. We will be coming out of open session.
We will have a vote.
And we will have likely one motion that will be taken. Looks like the health partners agreement. So
Feel free to stick around.
Yeah.
Feel free to stick around.
thank you, everyone.
Oh, let your drink.
Don't trip, John.
You should take and Josh up on his
Helen.
Oh my God.
Was hoping we didn't have to go this long.
I'm exhausted.
We're not going to go out and do shots after this?
I don't think so, Brett. I love y'all, but I think